I guess we should get started, huh? Because I have a feeling we're going to talk for a while today.
It seems like we got stuff to talk about, so.
So, welcome to Don't Forget to Charge It, your podcast about everything batteries with JJ.
Hello.
And I'm Andy. We're not going to talk about charging batteries. We're going to talk, I got my batteries recharged by these 3 episodes. That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Let me be more clear. I got my batteries recharged by 2 of these 3 episodes.
Yeah. I mean, as we discuss on the last Subspace transmission, right? The episodes that we watched felt like they fell in an arc, right?
Mm-hmm.
We'd watch 3 episodes, and one would be kind of okay, whatever. One would be great, and one would be pretty bad. I don't know if we had one that was pretty bad in this.
I don't think so. No.
But we definitely had some that were better than others. So
absolutely. Yeah. What a cool... Well, we'll get into it. But yes, definitely I think some were stronger, but it doesn't... I don't think our normal judgment of Discovery plays here very hard. So let's get into it. We're talking about 9, 10, and 11 of Season 3 of Discovery today. So if you haven't seen them, don't listen, because there's spoilers for some of the characters in this show.
Yeah, we're getting very near to the end of the season here, so especially if you're just watching along, you don't really care about spoilers. We're about to start revealing end plots for some of these characters, it seems.
Yes, it would seem. All right.
Can't know because I haven't seen the rest, but
yeah, Well, let's get into it. Episode 9. Finally, we're going to tackle Georgiou and her major issues, and the Terran guy, the last Terran expert in the universe.
Yeah, the last FBI agent or whatever.
He's so good. Oh man, his vibe is good. I don't know. Mm-hmm. He's not on screen long enough to really judge, but he's got a good vibe.
I like him.
I like him too. We find out that there's another instance of someone coming across space and time, much like Georgiou, very conveniently for the plot.
Yeah, I know, right?
But it was cool. I don't know if you caught the little reference of why he came across space and time.
Did they say?
Yes, they did. They said he was brought through a rip in time by a Romulan mining machine.
I love it.
Uh-huh. So, little reference to the Kelvin timeline, I guess, being part of the universe somewhere, technically.
Mm-hmm.
Which is fine. I mean, the Kelvin timeline's not inherently bad.
No.
It's just different.
Yeah.
Anyway, he eventually asked to be euthanized because of how painful his death was.
Right.
So. Yeah, that's what we have to look forward to.
We're not all the way sure that person is from the Terran universe, right? We're
no,
not all
he's
the way sure.
From the... They seemed to imply he was thrown forward in time from the Kelvin universe into Prime.
I see. Okay.
It looked like maybe he was on the Kelvin. I couldn't tell. He had like a Kelvin era uniform.
Right, yeah, it was definitely old school uniform for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
it's moderately unimportant, but it was a nice little nod.
It bodes bad for our good friend Philippa Georgiou, though.
So now we know that we have to do something about it, and Hugh magically uses the sphere data to say that there's a 5% chance she'll live if she goes to Danis 5.
No, this is another instance where Hugh didn't do anything. The sphere data just volunteered the information.
Oh, he said, "Computer, is there a solution?" It's like, come on, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Try a little harder.
Exactly. He didn't do anything. The computer just volunteered the information, right?
Yeah, well, Anyway,
Uh,
Admiral Vance seems like a good guy.
I had a note here in this part of the episode that says, I'm liking the Admiral more and more here, and I think I'm liking Saru less.
Yeah, they have a weird discussion, and I wonder, based on the later episode here, if they're setting Saru up for something else other than captaincy.
Hmm.
It's a weird way they do it later, and I don't know that I agree with it, but it seems like he's having a discussion, and they have it in a way that is for the audience's benefit, maybe more than for Saru's benefit.
Yeah. It definitely felt like, let's give exposition
A little bit,
here.
and also the let's teach the morals again moment of Saru says the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few because
Right.
Osira is going to attack somewhere. Where did he say? Well, they didn't know.
They didn't know, but the Emerald Chain they felt was going to attack imminently, right?
Right, because... and so Saru says we got to be here because they're going to attack, and the Admiral's like, well, buddy, sometimes you have to understand that if your crew doesn't see that you're going to stick your neck out for them, they're not going to stick their neck out for you. Basically, right? I think he actually says if your crew member is drowning, you need to save them because your crew and you will never look at yourself the same way again.
Right. And it's like it's something you would implicitly understand if you were like, had come through your captaincy in a normal way, I imagine, in order to get the crew to respect you in the first place.
Yeah.
They wouldn't, like, if you're just some dude who Starfleet Command assigns to the captain's chair, these people are going to be like, not even know who you are. And a process of knowing who you are and learning to trust you and all that stuff would be to like do good things for them. And like that kind of rapport would come normally.
This is a thing that Burnham is good at, that Saru is not.
Exactly. Yes. Whereas then Saru thus far has been a little better at let's actually do what the admirals and the command say, as opposed to just doing whatever we want, which is the thing that he is good at and she is not.
Right.
But anyway, I thought it was a good scene, just kind of like letting the admiral know, be like, look, man, yeah, I'm on your case all the time because I want you to do things that I say, but also if you don't do some stuff for yourself here, you need to do.
Yeah, your crew's gonna fall apart.
Yeah. So it was a good little scene.
Giorgio tries to get Burnham to fight, but she won't do it. So instead, she gets a 007 countdown wristwatch.
I want to point out that their like little practice like room they had. Just a little comment I thought was fun. They have like a little exercise room where we've seen it several times in the show, off and on, right? It's like this is a room for working out, and
I think Burnham kicked
other
through
kinds
a
of
dummy
stuff
there.
Yeah. It apparently has a bunch of like swords. It's like sitting around there. It's like Giorgio just grabs a sword. It's like, what? It's got swords? I've never seen swords in there. What the heck?
Sharp swords just sitting around.
Yeah, what?
Before holodeck technology.
Who maintains
Well, no, now
swords?
they have holodecks, I guess, but they've had the training room since they were a little baby ship.
Yeah, and there was no holodecks then. I just thought it was funny. It's like, yeah, they just got like 10 swords there on a rack. NBD. Yeah.
How come?
I guess a lot of people there are into swords. I don't know.
How come? Hold on. I have to write down a note about holodecks for later.
Sure, yeah.
I didn't realize this until now. Okay.
We'll talk about it later.
Okay. Okay.
I thought there was a really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
No, we'll talk about it later.
We need to talk about it later. We got to think through that one later. Can we take an aside about Stamets and Adira for a second and then get back into the good part of this?
Okay.
Why all of a sudden is Stamets... Stamets is still Stamets to everybody except for now Tilly and Adira. He's like...
Is their dad?
He's trying to like warm blanket them all the time. It's smothering me.
It's because they ran out of character ideas for him, and so now he's Adira's dad. That's his new character, apparently.
And Jet Reno, the same thing. Like, just write her out.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing? They all have nothing to do. I don't understand.
Yeah,
I think they might have too many characters. Anyway,
the biggest problem with this whole thing, this show in general, I think, is like they have ideas, they get through the ideas. When the idea is resolved, like Stamets' big thing was that, like, he was the slave to the spore drive essentially, and that was causing him a whole thing. And then his relationship with Hugh, he didn't have a thing this season, right? His thing about being the thing with the spore drive was resolved in like episode 4.
yeah, Dira removed everything from the spore drive,
and now like his thing is he's her dad, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. It's just drama every time they're on the screen now. And like,
yeah,
I'm not invested in their drama because they have nothing else to do other than drama. Well, Adira might by the end here, but all right, let's get back on track because the rest of this is really good.
Yeah.
Booker decides he wants to help, and I wrote down a note here that says, please, can Booker be the new Section 31?
I found there was one line in this little talk here with Booker where he said, like, he has to find your moment.
Oh, Saru, yeah.
I thought that was a good little line for him.
Eventually, you'll be useful within the rules.
Yeah,
and you'll find your moment. Yeah,
I enjoyed. I'm happy that Booker is going to stick around potentially. Then
I am too. Yeah,
that's good.
I very much like him, and I like his relationship with Burnham, and it's, if we bring in characters that are interesting and new and have things to do, we should write out old characters. We don't have to keep them around just because they're here.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. I love Giorgio and Burnham bantering. They obviously have practiced it a lot.
Yeah, they've had quite a few. I think they get into it and more here and in the next episode too. But the two characters who have had the most history together, whether on-screen history, I guess, in this show, is them. So it's good.
And it's interesting. They developed so much rapport with each other, despite the fact that they are not the person that they had the most. So, like, their relationship with each other has developed into such a deep thing, and yet it's because they had deep relationships with people in their own universes that,
right.
So like
not necessarily each other.
Yeah. And so they get through the end of, and it's episode 2 of this is the best one of these episodes because
agreed
of the end of it, where they really discover for themselves, like, oh, our relationship developed past wanting you to be the one that I lost. Right. Like,
right. Yeah. Easily the end, this is, I mean, okay, like this episode is called Terra Firma Part 1, Terra Firma Part 2. The next one wraps a bunch of stuff up. The end of that episode, is like probably one of the best emotional moments we've had in the entire show so far, maybe?
Yes.
It's up there for sure.
Guaranteed.
Really, really good.
Then we get
let's
Carl.
Let's talk about Carl. Let's talk about Carl.
We don't spoil Carl in this episode, right? We wonder what Carl is in this episode.
You don't know who Carl is here.
Okay. I thought at the start, because of the way he was telling jokes and riddles, that he was a Q.
I definitely had that thought, and I discarded it at some point once he started being like really like where he was like being pointless, where he was just like pointlessly answering their questions with a non-answer, right? Because Qs just don't answer questions. They're just like, you ask them a question and they talk about something else.
Sure. Yes, and I have to say, once we find out later, we'll have to talk about why he talks this way.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, I thought, oh, he's just being like a riddly, run around different Q. He's not the Q. He's not the
I think there are
TNG.
many Qs, as we learned, right?
Sure.
He's not John Delancey Q.
He's not John
of course.
Delancey Q. Yes,
Yeah.
that's what I mean to say.
Yeah, I thought at this point he was some kind of like weird either AI or alien or something that Starfleet had imprisoned on this planet because it was like super duper dangerous or something. And this was some kind of trick or whatever. But
yeah.
Anyway, you know, it's all good anyway. He offers some kind of deal to Georgiou. He seems to be completely aware of her condition.
Yeah, and he basically says, I'm here to help in so much as this is on you to do the thing to help yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he can't. He's like, I can't. Just got to go through the door, right?
Yeah. I guess we should say in the plot, he says, here's the door. Well, what's the door for? Well, usually you walk through a door. Okay, but what does the door do? You walk through the door and you get to the other side of the door.
And he's like, then it gets you on the other side. Yeah. It's a door, like.
And Burnham's head
is like,
got steam coming out of it, obviously, because she's the science officer and she can't not get an answer to something.
She's about to fight him. I can feel her just like starting to put up her fists and be like, let's go, Carl. Give me the real answer.
She definitely does. These 2 episodes, I'm just going to say up front, Sonequa Martin Green and Michelle Yeoh act their ass off.
Mm-hmm.
In both, here we go, in both universes.
Well, yeah, and the spoiler is Georgiou says, I'm taking this chance, whatever it is, I don't care.
Yeah, hey, and I've got to go through the door. Right? I don't have another choice. My body is falling apart right in front of you here. It doesn't matter that he's not answering the question. I got to go. I got to go through the door.
She goes through the door and is seemingly transported into the mirror universe again.
She is back to the mirror, which earlier on she says is the prime universe, and you're the mirror.
Right. Yeah. Depends on where you're looking at, right?
Makes sense.
And I love that their stupid salute is terra firma.
Well, they have a lot of salutes.
That's such a dumb salute phrase that I just love it. It's like hard earth. Yeah.
It's funny because in this episode, I was thinking about the title, why is it terra firma? And it's like, well, because it's probably the last time we'll see the mirror universe.
But also like solid ground,
that's
Georgiou has kind of been floating, and
that's the thing. Yes, exactly. The metaphor of solid ground makes a lot of sense when you think about where she's headed and what she needed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's great. It's a great use of a dumb catchphrase.
I know. It is dumb, but I enjoyed it quite a bit, surprisingly.
I still enjoy it. I mean, their exploration of the mirror and like every single show seems to have dipped their toe in the mirror, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to think, is there anyone that didn't? And I mean, I guess we haven't seen Lower Decks do it, but there's only been 10 episodes, so.
Yeah.
I think they've mentioned the mirror universe in Lower Decks. I think they have. I don't think they actually went there.
I don't recall. Did TNG go there? They had to have gone there.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Wait. Yeah.
I know.
Isn't like Evil Beard Riker a thing?
Yeah, Evil Beard Riker's a thing. DS9 went there.
DS9 went there many times.
Which is weird. So, given what happens in this ending of this, we have to wonder what happens to the Terran Empire, even though it's still intact later, right? Like, I don't know they thought through. Well, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so she's back in the mirror, and my first reaction was, she's going to hate it here.
Yeah.
That was my literal first reaction before Captain Killy even opens her mouth.
Yeah, it was she goes back and is like, she realizes where she is, and you can just be like, oh man, Georgiou, you're in a pickle.
Yeah.
This is going to be bad for you, probably.
And it seems like, everyone's noticed a little bit that she's lost a step in terms of trying to figure out where she's at and how to behave. And first of all, stop. because I'm going to talk about this little party that they're at in the suite after she gets introduced, and there's a couple important things that happen with Burnham sitting down in the party. But stop using your SFX budget on stupid robots that we don't need to see ever.
Yeah, it's really dumb. And it is impressive that there are so many really dumb SFX shots here.
The episode 10 opens with one in that stupid turbo lift dead space that doesn't exist in any of the ships, but all of a sudden does because we need SFX time.
Yep.
I hate this and I hate that so much. It's just lazy transitioning.
But it's a cool shot, Andrew, and there's little robots. We love the little robots. Everyone loves little robots.
I work in this field, and you've wasted so much money on these dumb robots that nobody needs to see.
Yep.
Okay. I got my piece out of the way. Michelle Yeoh is what I was going to say. Michelle Yeoh, knows that she has returned back in time to just before Lorca betrays her.
Yeah, she realizes, like, she has to be like sly about asking what day it is or whatever.
Yeah.
And she like learns that this is the day or the day before she's betrayed.
This is the day before she's betrayed and goes on a killing rampage and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
And she remembers Burnham betrays her with Lorca and all that sort of stuff, and says, "Hey, Killy, I asked you to look into that thing. What's going on with that thing?" And Killy confirms all of it, right? And that everybody's got to die because we're back in the mirror.
Yeah,
so
this is what we kill everyone, right?
Yeah. There's this little party scene where she saves Saru from Burnham's service, I guess.
I mean, it seems like Burnham was just going to kill him right here,
right? Because he talked to somebody, and so so she saves Saru.
The Kelpians in this universe are like slaves essentially,
and food,
and Burnham was just going to kill him and eat him here, and Georgiou saves him from that because she wants to have him in her service.
Well, I guess
weirdly.
Yeah, people do look at that weirdly, that she didn't just like kick him in the face.
Right.
There's a lot of that happening where people are noticing she's kind of lost a step a little bit, but still Owo and Killy are loyal. So Burnham, she's trying to launch a plan to bring Burnham back to her. She wants...
Right.
She has come to the realization already, you can see, that her Burnham is not a Burnham she likes or enjoys or thinks is living to her fuller potential, like she has discovered in the Prime universe, right?
Right.
And she does see her like a daughter, so she's trying to find a way to break apart her and Lorca, but also not get killed.
And I think it's an interesting... Like, this is an interesting path for Georgiou's character here, right? Because, you could argue that in the Prime universe, she had been spending a lot of time trying to make that Burnham more like the one she knew in the Mirror universe, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And now in the Mirror universe, she suddenly realizes, actually, that's not what I want. And what I want is this Burnham to be more like the other one, who I now like also.
I think she also learns an important lesson about trying to change people.
I think that's true, and we'll get into that more here on the next one too. So
yeah, she uses Saru now. Her time in the Prime universe has made her much smarter, like much smarter, and at least more wily, because she immediately says, "Saru, hi, I'm going to talk to you and treat you like a sentient being, and say, I know you hear everything in Burnham's quarters, so tell me what she's planning."
Yeah. Also, you need to inform on me for everyone.
Yeah, exactly. Use your network, your Kelpian network, and you need to start telling me everything that's going on, which I think is genius.
Yeah. It was good. And, like playing on the stuff that she learned in the Prime universe about Kelpians, about like Bahari and all this other stuff that like they don't talk about. So how would she know, right? But like
Right.
knowing all that stuff ingratiates her to him,
Yeah.
and so he's like, oh, okay, like I can trust her. She knows stuff about us that only we would know.
Right. And remember, this is Saru's person is Saru, but he doesn't have a name in this one. So when she talks about Saru later, he's like, "Oh wow, this Kelpian named Saru sounds great."
Right, exactly, yeah.
But Saru reminds her that basically, in the Terran Empire, the person who sheds the most blood gets to make the rules, and that's just the way that it is. And she's going to get killed if she doesn't start behaving like her old self again. No one's going to respect her. So she comes up with the idea that her Burnham will only respect strength, and so she has to figure out a way to change her back to a trustworthy person by showing her that she's not weak somehow without killing her.
Right.
So she's going to use Saru instead, and I think it's really. I mean, it shows a lot of determination and character growth, and all the. It's very well designed. This change in character.
Yeah,
it's really good.
It
shows good. At the beginning of this, and much more in the second episode. But at the beginning of this, you can already see that they understand who they created. I don't know if, I mean, there's like 4 people listed on the story for this, and I don't know how much the director had to do with it, but man, did they understand who Philippa Georgiou Mirror was, and who she had become, and who they wanted her to be. And I really don't think they do that strongly and quickly with anyone else on the show. Everyone else is a project that needs tweaking and work, and even Burnham, who's well defined. And just let me finish, and then just because I finished my thought. Even Burnham, who's very well defined as a character, constantly is yo-yoing up. Progress isn't a straight line in real life or in shows. But Georgiou seemed to at least always have a clear direction and a clear character. Sorry, what were we going to say?
I think I largely agree with you here. I think the Georgiou's character always felt like the one that had a purpose more than the other ones, at least, right? In a lot of instances, it felt like we talked several episodes ago when we were watching season 2 and earlier in season 3, how the show kind of felt like it was wandering around, right? Like they didn't really have a plan or a goal. In some instances, it felt that way.
Yeah.
The only character who always felt like they had a goal was Georgiou.
And every episode she was in always felt like it was a purpose-driven episode that moved from beginning to end and was brought there by very quick. Michelle Yeoh has a very quick wit, and that is amazing to see considering she's in her second language. You know what I mean? Like,
right? Yeah, true. You forget that Michelle Yeoh. Yeah, I'm sure at this point, like she's fluent in many languages, but
absolutely,
it wasn't her first language, I assume, right?
I'm sure she's a prolific Chinese or Malaysian. She might be Malaysian. I believe she's Malaysian. I don't want to say the wrong thing, but I remember looking this up.
She's prolific in Chinese and Hong Kong
films.
Films. Yeah,
she's really famous for her Hong Kong films. And that's, I've looked this up before. She's Malaysian.
Isn't she an Academy Award winner? She was in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. That movie won like Best Picture.
Dude, she's in a lot of Academy Award winning movies. I think Memoirs of a Geisha also.
Oh yeah, right. She definitely was in that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she could slum it down here with us Star Trek nerds if she wants.
Yes. I will be happy to take a Michelle Yeoh any day of the week on my show.
Yeah, totally. Anyway, I think it's a testament to the character they created and the stuff that they gave her to do and how her character has grown from the initial character that we get to this point, right? And it's so clear that Giorgio wants something that she's returned, ostensibly to her previous life, the life that she claimed
Was the
multiple
best
times,
one, right?
the best one, where she was the emperor, everything was great. This is she has the time now to stop the rebellion, right? She can go back and tell Killy and her other loyalists to just go murder Lorca and everyone else. She already knows who the bad guys are, right? It's
Right.
never like a secret. She knew who the ones who rebelled against her were. She could just go kill them all herself. Like, she didn't need this.
And
But
I think you're
that's not what she wants.
right.
Now.
Exactly. You are hitting it on the head, man. You can tell Michelle Yeoh's so good that you can tell the second she walks into that universe that she instantly remembers to be nervous all the time, to watch her back immediately. She's looking around hallways. Her character acting for this is so good because she just immediately seems to remember that this is not a place she can trust. And she does it with her face and her body, and it shows you that her character realizes this is a mistake. Mm-hmm. I shouldn't be here anymore. And
yeah, you see that she's nervous all the time and that she doesn't like it.
Yeah.
Which, again, you assume she did like it before.
Right.
And that's, and that's the character growth right there. It's great. It's really, really good.
And she's already talking about, I've seen what we should be. I've seen what our potential is. There's another way for us to accomplish our goal. And she's not talking about like bringing Starfleet across into this universe, right?
Right. No. And she's also not talking about founding a federation and making all kinds of peace and
not.
stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
She's just talking about, I know a better way to rule our empire, And by the end of this, there's like I think there's the realization of or is that in the next episode, the coalition and all that sort of stuff. And she handles that.
That's the next one.
Differently. So she uses her backdoor channels at the end of this. We could finish this one off since it's a two-parter.
Sure.
Stamets gets it in the neck.
I loved their dedication to writing a dumb rhyming play about the dedication of this thing. Like the rise of the Emperor, right? It's like such a it's one of those things that like they would only do in an episode like this, right? Where it's set in some weird universe or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they spent a bunch of time, like someone had to spend time writing limericks and stuff so they could make a story about the Emperor. Like it's like one of those like what's the shows you show to appease the dictator or whatever, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. They called it her death play or something like that. I don't know. It was like one of those dedication, things you would see in ancient China. I wouldn't see them in ancient China, but you would see them in a movie about ancient China.
Right, I mean? Exactly. Yeah. And she's like, "Well, this was really great. Thanks, everyone." Bam! Stamos gets it. Stamets gets it.
Oh, Stamets gets it in the neck, dude. It's so good.
As he was starting to like pull out the dagger to stab her in the back, right? And she's like, "Now everyone knows that I'm in charge here, by the way. He was going to kill me. What's up? And, arrest these people. We're going over here."
Yeah. Well, there's a great scene there where Burnham realizes she's onto her. So she, does the over exaggerated clapping and all that sort of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Long live the Emperor. It's not me. I got to get out of here. And you think for a second, like, okay, we're going to get to the next episode and then deal with it. And then they accost her in the hallway. It's just like,
And
so,
the episode ends here as Giorgio, Burnham's like screaming, "Kill me!" And everyone's like, "Yes, kill her." You can even see in the background, like Owo and Killy are like, "Yes, do it," right?
Yeah.
And she's like, she puts the sword in her neck and is like, "Well, no, our future will be unwritten from here out. Take her to the agonizer." And then that's the end of the episode.
Yeah. Yeah. The next episode is narrated, and I love it.
The narration?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I liked it.
Star Trek has the ability to narrate things very easily because of the captain's log, and they've always done that. But we've never just gotten I mean, I can't say never, but it's very unusual to have just had a character narrate an episode.
Yeah, it's pretty rare. You get the like the captain's log or whatever of the personal log of whomever is involved, right? And it's the like exposition to the story of this episode.
Yeah.
You don't frequently get this, right?
You don't frequently get it. And the purpose of it is very interesting, to give you the idea behind why she's torturing the heck out of her daughter.
Yeah.
Here is because the only thing she'll understand, she says, it's the only thing you'll understand. It's the only way that I can reach you. It's the only way that
she says learn. Like all her lessons have to be learned through pain, right? Yeah, that's what she says.
That's her working theory here, right? Is that that in this universe, I'll have to teach you. And she says something outside the agonizer that's I'm trying to find the note. I wrote it down. She talks about how, parents say this thing about like, why won't you learn from me telling you? And so she's got this very twisted version of what a lot of real parents go through, which is, I told you the answer to this. I told you what would happen if you did what I'm, telling you what it's like. You have to learn on your own. So it's a weird, I'm not trying to curse when I say this, but it's a bastardized version of that kind of like, I tried to be the parent that taught you, but you wouldn't learn without making the mistake. I think it's unfair in this episode because you taught her the other way, right. Your character before you left this universe taught her the other way. So it's not really
it's a bit of a like, I have to like break this person down all the way so that I can rebuild them because I screwed up the first time, and this is how you like reset people.
Yeah. And
which
I think
is a pretty, I think, bad.
Yeah. And like I think it's purposeful. I don't think that part is
true necessary, but it certainly has a purpose in this episode for sure.
Yeah.
I feel that Sonequa Martin Green has been tortured quite a lot on this show.
She sure has.
I really feel bad for her constantly having to act like she's being tortured. It's not
before
great.
She left Walking Dead, she was tortured on that show a lot too.
I really wish we could get away from this. I don't like seeing people tortured all the time. Can we just not?
She acts her butt off, man. Like,
I'm not saying she's doing a bad job.
So good.
I'm just saying it's uncomfortable to watch.
I understand. So I think this is the beginning of their thesis for this episode, which is she's going to do everything she can within her knowledge of this universe to try and change somebody. And obviously it's not going to work out, right? And that's the ending lesson, I think.
Well, that certainly is the ending lesson for sure. But let's talk about the blue credits.
The what?
The credits, man. Did you watch the opening credits?
No, I missed it. I skipped the credits now.
The opening credits for this one were mirrored.
Oh, I got to go back then. Okay.
They took in the Discovery's opening credits are in this like, I don't know, what color would you say that is? Like parchment-y color?
Parchment and
like line drawings and
line
stuff.
Drawings with a lot of red.
Yeah. This one, they invert everything. So it's like a blue hue.
Okay.
The sparks of blue are the sparks of red are wait, no, I think the red is still red.
Okay, I'll have to look this up.
The parchment color is hue, or the parchment color is blue.
Okay.
And they mirror everything upside down, and so everything is reversed from what it was before.
Man. Okay.
It's so good. Yeah. It's I thought for sure I was like, Andrew's going to be the guy who saw the credits, and we could talk about it.
I finally started skipping the credits like mid season 3.
As the guy who almost always skips the credits too, to be fair.
Well, so the button
this time, because as I was fast forwarding through it, I noticed it's like, why is this blue? What the heck? And then I went back.
Oh, okay. So the button finally started working in my app. I always was watching the credits, which I like to watch most of the time because they changed them for season 3. There's a lot of change. And so I
There's
watched them.
the new Federation symbol is in
Yeah, yeah,
there.
yeah. So I watched them at the beginning of the season, and then we got towards the middle, and I was like, well, this button seems to be working now. So I guess we'll skip them. And especially when I have like 2 or 3 in a night that I watch,
Mm-hmm.
that
I
button
don't.
it's very tempting.
I can't blame you. Can't blame you
Okay,
at
hold on.
all.
I'm
I
gonna
just
look at
thought it was
pictures of this Mirror Universe Discovery credits
I
images.
think. I think. I
Oh,
think
these are
TNG
pretty.
maybe never did go to the Mirror Universe.
TNG didn't. I don't.
Yeah, I can't. And I've been thinking about it more. I don't think so.
I
I don't
don't
think.
recall them mirroring TNG.
Yeah, I don't think
But
they
it
ever did.
doesn't. I mean, it doesn't matter. That DS9 did it, and so did
DS9 did it a bunch, and the
DS9. Definitely
original
did it.
series did, of
OG
course.
series did it.
Enterprise did, and now Discovery.
Yeah, Mirror Universe. That's not what I want. Anyway, that's cool, and I'm glad. Oh, it's got the knife behind it. That's cool.
Yeah, right.
It's got a knife behind it. Mirror
It's very cool.
Universe, the Star Trek Discovery credits. I'm gonna try and mute this really quick so that it doesn't make any noise. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm sad I missed this.
I mean,
It's not that. I mean, it's cool, but
yeah,
it's like not
it is
groundbreaking.
right. It's nothing insane, but it is very cool.
Wait,
Uh,
isn't there an episode of which episode of TNG is called Mirror Mirror? Isn't that the Mirror Universe?
yes, I think that's the original one, right? Yeah, isn't that the original
That's
series
the original
episode?
series one. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Man, if you know off the top of your head if TNG had a mirror episode, you should send it to us. And we'll watch it.
Yeah, I looked very quickly in Memory Alpha, but I didn't see it. But
Okay.
also, I'm in the middle of a podcast, so
We got
whatever.
off track here.
We did. Uh, they I think there's a bit of a so Michael attempts to, so supposedly Michael finally, after being tortured all this time, relents, right? Giorgio has Lorca never shows up firstly.
Yeah. So she talks
Giorgio
about the
has
coalition to Giorgio. I'm not convinced torture is the best method, but she sure is.
certainly doesn't seem that way, but yeah,
She tells her that we must remake ourselves, like in the
right.
cell before she, puts her in the agonizer and gives her to Tilly to break.
Mm-hmm.
She says we must remake ourselves, and that's a realization more about her self, I think, than
Yeah.
what's possible in this universe, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Um, she tells a story to Burnham in the cell that I think is important. It's weird. I wonder. Okay, so she talks about night terrors and fireflies.
Do you think that it's a direct reference to that short trek? I do.
Yes. Exactly. Man, what a we got a lot of stuff to break down here. So,
Yeah.
you talk about the fireflies first.
So, Giorgio is visiting Michael. Well, she's asleep, passed out.
She seems to
Unclear.
have been tortured into passed out. Yes.
Sedated, unclear what's going on here. Anyway, Giorgio is visiting Michael and brings her a little globe with a bunch of fireflies in it, right? And they're all flying around inside and lighting up as fireflies do.
Yeah.
Or as they do in movies anyway.
Sure.
And she tells her, remember this story about night terrors, and you could always remember that even when the night is the scariest or whatever, you have these little lights here. And I don't remember I feel like I'm going to butcher anything that she says because I don't
Oh,
remember exactly the
yeah. Oh, she
phrase
tells
here.
her, that she used to wake up screaming in the night, and
Right.
she would hold her down until she'd stop. And then one night she didn't hold her down, and she walked to a field where there were fireflies, and she would stop and calm down.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically what she says. And so, like, I'll bring you all the fireflies in the universe if you come back. You know what I mean?
Right. Yes.
Uh, yeah. So, how do you think that one hit with the short trick?
I I don't know. Because of like the theme of fireflies, which is another big thing in that short trek, right? It's like all the stars are like all the little fireflies become like the stars or whatever.
Yeah, the girl who made the stars.
Right.
Uh, mhm.
Um and maybe they're like thematically connected more than directly connected.
Yeah.
But it just it was the first thing I thought of, right, when she brought the fireflies into the scene. I'm like, oh, is she like making some kind of reference to the short trek? I don't know
They
if I'm
definitely
supposed
are.
to think that or not, but
So in the short trek, the Burnham's avatar, I guess, the young girl meets an alien at the end of that after overcoming her
right.
fear of the dark, right? Because of the night
Yes.
beast and all that. So I went back and thought about this, and I thought, well, originally in the story, she meets an alien, and the alien uses light to create the stars, right?
Hmm.
And then grows up to be this like queen of Africa.
Right.
So the lesson there, right, is more whether or not Giorgio has given Burnham the tools to succeed, to create the stars, to be the leader that she needs to be,
Mm.
and whether it's this Burnham or the other one, thematically, right? If you're, which you should tie these two together, absolutely. I think um,
Hmm.
those themes would play in that direction. I think I don't see how else you could really interpret those two things. Is like clearly the
Yeah.
story is about Burnham. The short trek is about Burnham in a way, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like learning to overcome the thing that scares you and be able to, you know, move past your fears and have success because you're able to face your fears, right?
Right. And
And
and that lesson is something that she didn't maybe succeed teaching here, but she might have succeeded with the other. And why she says at the end of this that Saru is not the only captain on that ship,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's my interpretation of how they're connected, because they're very clearly similarly linked stories
Right.
on purpose.
Yeah. Yeah.
She goes out into the night just like she does, like the African girl. They don't have a name for her, but does in that story, right?
Right.
And what I thought was interesting about this, from a personal perspective, is that night terrors do not inherently end well. Having had a child that has them, one of the worst things you can do is try to get them out of it. And so I can't tell if this writer knows that and is making the point that holding her down was not the right way. I think that's what they were trying to do,
Mm.
because the best thing you can do for them is to let them work through it without interrupting, right?
Mm.
Uh, so it's a weird story to have used, to have given her night terrors I have to say I had a different experience than Michelle Yeoh did, I guess, because
I
at
mean,
the end of this, she says she wishes she could have that time back, and I'm like,
and
I,
I
I do not want that time back.
I don't think this is. I think you have a more personal connection to the idea of night terrors than perhaps maybe this writer did.
I don't know that, I mean, she definitely
But
knows
I
some of
think
it.
as a person who has not experienced night terrors, right? I don't have that connection.
Sure.
I don't know that I would have known that you shouldn't wake people up.
Yeah.
But what I did get from this scene and this discussion here is that that is a very like motherly thing for JoJo to be doing, right?
I
She clearly loves this person. She
yeah.
has this care. She wants this child of hers, even maybe not by blood or whatever, but like a child of hers. She wants them to face her fears. She wants her to grow up to become a strong and to become the person that she sees that this child could become,
I
right?
think we're
And so
focusing on the
we're learning that as opposed to
yeah.
like I don't know what the science is behind night terrors or
I think
whatever.
the science of it is less important than the lesson that comes
Right.
from this, and I think it stuck out to me because I feel like this is one of the most important sections of this 2 episode arc.
Yeah.
And it just struck me a little bit because like they use something that I have a definite personal experience with, that she comes to a conclusion that I understand in terms of the story, but that hits wrong because of the personal experience. Like wishing for night terrors back so you could hold them is not like, oh, please, no, never again. Like if you grew out of your night terrors, please don't ever come back, because they can be very, very hard to deal with, for everybody. Anyway, the important thing that comes out of this is that she, I think, is having a discussion. She's talking to Burnham, but she's obviously having a discussion with herself.
Yeah, definitely.
And she's having a discussion with the other Burnham. And I think in this, you can finally...
I actually felt like in a lot of cases, her talking to this Burnham is more often her talking to the other one.
Absolutely.
Than the one that's here.
And
right?
That's the realization she's coming to discussing this. I think she starts to understand that she's in love with the daughter she pulled off the trash heap because she wanted her to grow up and be as independent and strong as the Burnham in the Prime universe.
Yes, exactly.
But the Burnham in the Prime universe didn't grow up the way she expected or wanted her to. She's not, the queen or the captain or anything, right?
Yep.
But she still exemplifies everything that she had hoped from her daughter in this universe.
Yes, exactly.
And that this story, I think, is so perfectly written in that moment. It's great. It's just absolutely great. Shout out the people that made this episode, these 2 episodes.
No, it was really good.
Bo
really,
Yeon
really
Kim, Erica Lippold, Alan McElroy, and Kalinda Vasquez nail moments in this episode that just make them perfect.
Yeah. This one, Terra Firma Part 2, is easily the best of the three. And
this Terra Firma Part 2, it's been a long 3 seasons of watching this show.
Yep.
But currently, my opinion is that I love this, and it might be my favorite.
It's really good. We can kind of breeze through till we get to the end stuff, I think, because kind of the rest of this is sort of just like...
Yeah, we
can action to move to the end.
Sure. Mira Saru is worried for her, getting betrayed. She has this moment with him telling him about the other people, so I guess after this, Burnham, breaks and says, "Oh, I'm back," and then she murders everybody.
Well, and she gets the chance to give her 20 pieces of silver,
Yeah.
Of like, okay, Giorgio says, well, fine, I'll let you back in if you kill everyone who did this for me. Yeah, take your friend with you. Sure, yeah, go ahead, whatever. And then at the end is like, was that everyone, Michael? And it makes her kill her friend also. and literally, throws the little badges of the people that she's killed on Giorgio's feet, like her atonement, her her 20 pieces of silver here, and it's a good scene.
I think it's good.
But then as then Giorgio's plans continue to go on, and she's going to try to figure out how to deal with the coalition and all this stuff, and like
she figured it out. She made trade deals with them and broke the coalition apart completely.
Yeah.
But we get the scene with Saru, and that's important too for real quick, because one, she tells him Faharai is not the end of you, and it's not the end of any of your people. So lock yourself in your room, and you'll live. And that's going to change some stuff at the end of this.
Yeah.
But I think here is where we all realize she's not going to live in this universe.
Right.
She's going to let a Kelpian live, and people are going to be PO'd.
Oh, yeah.
At best, she doesn't get betrayed by Burnham. At worst, she does again. But neither way does it last, right? Like, she's eventually, Killy's going to betray, somebody's going to betray her, because she's going to start letting people live, and it's just not going to last.
Her, you could already see, right? Like the sharks are circling, right? Yeah. Burnham even says to her, sometimes like, what is this? You're acting weak. Why don't we just, blow this ship out of the sky or whatever? And, all these various things. And like, you could see that she's not just going to be able to maintain her iron fist of rule that she had before, right? And it's just not going to work.
Yeah.
She's not that person anymore. And, so then it is like the least surprising thing in the world later when Burnham says, haha, I wasn't actually broken. I'm betraying you.
Yeah.
And it's like,
not very surprising. Yeah. That whole scene with the like, oh, we've shown up and there's a shuttle here and it's just one shuttle. And you're like, well, that's the sacrificial lamb,
Yeah, definitely not suspicious here.
Yeah. And then the double, triple betrayal of everybody betraying everybody because nobody trusted anybody the whole time. Saru saves the day, kind of.
At the end, the payoff of her trusting the Kelpians the whole time is that they bust in with assault rifles and shoot everyone, which, okay, sure.
Yeah. And,
which then, of course, she also gets killed.
She gets into a one-on-one fight with her daughter in this universe.
Has to kill
Michael
again.
Won't stop fighting, so she kills her again. Yeah. And,
but yeah.
And that's it. She dies there again.
Yep.
And
awakens awakens in the snow with Carl again.
Carl. So immediately we find out that Carl is the guardian of forever.
Yeah, he says that.
You don't believe him?
Doesn't tell us what that is.
Oh, okay.
Well, Burnham kind of tries to explain it, but
the guardian of forever is from TOS.
Okay, so see, this is stuff I was not aware of.
This is one of my favorite episodes. It's City on the Edge of Forever, which is I don't even know how you talk about someone like Harlan Ellison, because he's probably a person you would have hated to meet. Prolific and very good writer. City on the Edge of Forever is great. It's the one you might remember where they go through a portal because McCoy sticks himself with cortisone or whatever, citrazine or whatever the magical
something
stuff
happens.
Got it. He hyposprays himself with like pounds of the stuff and then goes crazy and then jumps through a time portal. And the time portal looks exactly the same as this time portal.
I see. I was wondering what the significance of the portal was, but I never looked it up.
So there's no Carl in that episode. The portal just talks.
I see.
And in that universe, the portal can only show time in a linear fashion. You have to just sort of jump in and guess. And then I think in the animated series, the Guardian came back and they changed the rules a little bit to be like, no, actually, before I was just messing around with that was. It kind of here, I think, where while Carl is talking, you get the idea that he can kind of do whatever he wants, and he does it differently for every single person he comes across.
You certainly get that impression here,
right?
In in
So
Discovery.
I think Discovery does a great job of saying, the Guardian of the Wills or the Guardian of Forever. Guardian of the Wills is Star Wars. The Guardian of Forever just is able to manipulate time, and he does it differently for everyone. Like in the other show, he doesn't like riddle them as much. He's just sort of a snarky. His voice through the portal is just kind of a snarky thing. Or he might speak.
I think the reason here, though, like it comes back, right? Like, Carl talks and says, "Hey, here's what I'm doing," and all this sort of stuff. And then you sort of learn that he holds up the newspaper and it says, future is uncertain or whatever, right? Instead of she's dead,
right?
Which is what we saw in the previous episode. And I think you get, he talks about like, this was a test of some kind, right? Like you were weighed, and this is,
you were weighed and measured, and she says found wanting, and he's like, I don't know, you tell me, what do you think?
Do you think like, it's like, I don't know, what do you think? You're the one here.
No, it's good. It's good. The idea of the door, right, and being like, you have to go through a door to understand what's on the other side, and their reinterpretation of the Guardian of the Wills, or the Guardian of Forever, is very useful and good in the entirety of Star Trek. They get to the fact of like, he's not on the same planet he was before in TOS because people in the temporal war were trying to use his portal to kill people, and
it was a big problem, and he's like, I had to leave.
Yeah. You should go back and watch that one. That is a very controversial episode because they spend a lot of time in the 1930s. So a lot of it is filmed on a backlot. It's really funny. If you watch it, you can see them like running around corners and back into alleys they ran out of on the other side. Very, very TOS in terms of its budget. You know what I mean? But at the same time, Harlan Ellison wrote that one. And so A, it's great. And B, Harlan Ellison's a complete jerk. So he said it's like the worst episode of anything he's ever written. You're like, buddy, this is like some of the best Star Trek anyone's ever put out there. I don't understand your problem.
Yeah.
There's so many good quips from Spock in that episode. It's just good.
The deal in that one, right? Like I've seen it and I remember like flashes. I didn't recall anything about the Guardian of Forever though. But the deal is, right, like Kirk falls in love with someone and he has to leave her so that the timeline stays right or something like this, right, at the end?
I believe so, yeah, because Kirk and Spock have to live there for like a week waiting for McCoy to show up.
Right, like a while, right? Yeah.
Okay. And it's the Depression.
Right.
So like he kind of knows the future, and
they can't just like go around like saving everyone either, even though maybe theoretically they could, right?
They could, yeah. That was part of his pain at the end, is like, I could help here and all that. It's really good. It's a very complicated episode for Star Trek, and it was very ambitious at the time. It was only, when was this episode? 67. So people,
the first season, right?
watching TV would have remembered. A lot of them might have remembered the Depression, or grown up during the Depression. You know what I mean?
67, absolutely right. Depression in the 20s and 30s, or
30s into the 40s.
30s into the 40s, yeah.
And they know coming ahead of them is not a lot of good, right? Like coming ahead of these characters is a world war and all that sort of stuff. And so for Star Trek to have put that out there, and like,
people said that originally, and I think this is a true statement just in general anyway, but Star Trek was, when initially conceived, it came out in the 60s, was really avant-garde. It was really like a very different thing. Like sci-fi, of course, was a thing even back then, right? Of course, it maybe takes a different bent then than it did now, but the ideas that Star Trek was putting forward about, like, this utopian federation, these people all working together of different races and creeds and different ethnicities and nations, right?
Yeah.
A united Earth is something they talk about, and that's like a whoa. In the 60s, that was a crazy concept, and
Yeah.
it's in some ways still pretty crazy today.
Yeah.
So anyway,
And
Star Trek politics and stuff. There's a billion books and scholarly articles and stuff about this, but they were very progressive for the time, extremely.
yeah.
In some ways, still progressive today, sadly.
And
Um,
the end of that episode, they have to let somebody die, and it's like
right.
pre really having the prime directive be a thing. They very much interfere.
Oh yeah, the original series is all about interfering. So,
you know
but
and
yeah, and
McCoy is trying to do his best to save. It's a very I this is why it's very hard to like know what to say about Harlan Ellison, because like this episode is just so crazy good when you think back on it, and then you think about how much he hated writing it and he thought it was terrible, and how him and Gene Roddenberry fought over it all. It's like super famous how bad the relationship between him and Gene Roddenberry got over this episode. Anyway,
I think but it does, to get back on track here a little bit.
Sorry. It's just
no, it's fine. It's good.
Them bringing that episode into this was really like, I mentioned that I thought it was a cue because it was kind of a shock for me to be like, oh my God, what? Like, how did they make this not a cue? And then they brought in that episode, and you have to think like, wow, okay, somebody somewhere is paying attention,
Yeah,
and they're left with another impossible choice here, and that's good we talked about it because
it's the same thing, right? I was just going to say, the bringing it back is at the end, right? The only way to go forward is to let this person go, and so this is them, giving Georgiou her off ramp here, off the show, and I think they do a great job. These last whole 2 episodes were her entire, them building the bridge to the off ramp where she could get off the show.
Yeah.
But, it was her character arc had been mostly concluded at the end of last season, right?
She didn't, in the way they were writing this season, she didn't have much to do. So they either needed to bring her into some sort of XO or captaincy or something, or they needed to let her go.
Right, because she was going to be she was going to be a problem for them going forward, being who she is, right?
Right.
And if they had ignored that, the show would have been worse for it, because she would have just felt like she's hanging around. She would have ended up like the Janet Reno characters. Like, where was she? Like, why wasn't Georgiou here fixing this problem?
Right.
Or it would have been or she would have taken over every scene that she was in, right?
Yeah.
Which she did currently.
She did. Every single time she's on screen, she's the best character. And that's a testament to her acting, as well as just every single person on this staff seems to know exactly who she is. And so they can write her very easily.
And so, it is, so I'm not blaming them for taking her off the show this way. And it's a great goodbye. You get a lot of like, I think all the stuff we talked about earlier is kind of like manifested here. We talk about how, both Michael and Georgiou here in this universe realize that, the stuff that Georgiou went through was really, her coming to grips with like what she wanted for this Michael, maybe more than the other one. And Michael coming to grips with like, hey, as much as she loved Georgiou, the Prime Universe one who is dead, she has similar and like independent, but also good feelings about this one, right?
She may have gotten what she needed and wanted more from this one than the first one. She might have gotten the base lessons from the first one, but the true how to think about others and how to act more definitively and more in line with who Burnham has become as a person came from this Georgiou than it did from her captain that gave her training, right?
Yeah, and I think they both come to grips with that kind of like these two people, Prime Burnham and Mirror Georgiou, were the people that each other needed, right?
Yeah, really good.
Really great scene. and then she walks off into the portal at the end of the episode here.
Yeah, they give her 7 send-offs after.
Yeah, they have like a really great scene with everyone cheersing each other and saying,
I would have given my left pinky to see her standing on the concourse of DS9 on the other end of this thing.
Just like that's where she shows up.
Yeah, like pops in somewhere around that, because the Guardian tells her
she has to go back to a time when universes were more aligned.
Yeah, right. You're going to go where you're needed, where the universes are more aligned. And I thought about this, actually. I thought about where should she be? Where should she go? She can't go to the original series timeline.
I mean, they could, but it doesn't seem likely.
Well, she could later in the original series timeline, I guess.
She could show up in Strange New Worlds.
She could show up in the Strange New Worlds era. Yeah. So she just can't go before any of the stuff in Discovery, because then she would change the past and then everything would be different, right?
My suspicion is they're going to have her show up after Discovery has left or sometime in there. I mean, out of game knowledge, we know that her intent has been to run a Section 31 show. I think that's
it seems likely that that's still on track here, considering if she wants to do it, they should.
That. Yeah, there's been discussion about that, and her starring in her own Star Trek show has been a thing they've talked about. And it's been delayed a few times, so I'm not sure what the plan is still. But
Section 31
like a chance for them to be like, all right, we can get this character off. Not that it's bad that they need to get her off or anything, but like this is the way that we can write her out of the show well and do a great job with it. And if she wants to then go pursue her own show or whatever, that's great. She can do that here. We've left it open to do whatever she wants. Yeah. Right. Like any, the universe is your oyster here to some respect. Yeah. So
there's two, I thought about this for a while. And so I think there's two possibilities. One, she rebuilds Section 31 immediately after Discovery would have left. Right. She shows up and she's in Strange New Worlds sometimes, and she's got a show that's concurrent with that so they can keep the universes together.
Yeah.
But another timeline in which Section 31 needs rebuilding is the DS9 timeline.
Okay.
Because it initially appears there, and Section 31 becomes a foil for everything that has kind of become wrong with Starfleet in those years, right? Like, they have way too much power. They're a shadowy organization that doesn't, it's the same thing that it was in the previous version before it fell apart. And so by the end, it's almost dismantled by Cisco, right? Because of how bad off they get because of Section 31 and how militarized Starfleet has become. So it's an interesting take on it that they could do.
I think so I don't know. The problem is, though, so you mean she would be the one to remake it, right? Is that what you're saying?
So she could show up in two timelines.
If she shows up in Section 31 in that time, then she's the problem, and that's not what you want.
Right. Of course not. Yeah. So it would have to be slightly after, right?
Okay. So like past the end of DS9.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah. Somewhere around there. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they want to do, so it'll be interesting to see. I will happily watch anything Michelle Yeoh puts herself in that has Star Trek on it. So don't even.
Well, they have a writer's room for Section 31, so, and it's written by some of the people. That show is going to be written by some of the people that wrote these 2 episodes.
Okay, I like it.
Yep, I'm in for that.
All right. We did technically watch 3 episodes, though, Andrew.
Goodbye to Her Imperial Majesty, Mother and of the Fatherland, Overlord of Vulcan, Dominus of Kronos, Regina Andor, Emperor Philippa, Giorgio Augustus, Eplonius Centaurus. We had to say goodbye to her one full time.
Yes. She will be missed.
Very much by me, yeah. We skipped in the last couple episodes the fact that apparently the Kelpians sent a signal.
Yeah, we weren't talking about it, but
there was no reason to talk about it because literally all you find out is the Kelpians sent a distress signal.
Uh, they're they had pinpointed the burn, right? So this is the next
Verubian
episode.
Nebula.
Next episode is called Sukal. They had pinpointed the burn. It came from this nebula. Inside the nebula somehow was a distress signal from a Kelpian ship. That's what we got.
Yep.
So we're gonna go there. They do.
They do. There's a life sign. They gotta go. There's a life sign because we hacked into the sensors and we know somebody's alive, so we gotta go.
This was Book's chance to be like, oh, hey, I did something good. I magically technologicalized us so that we can.
Oh yeah, he had what, Emerald Chain tech that he plugged into the ship.
Yeah,
which
sure that's not going to come back and haunt us at all. Nope,
won't come back. And well, the admiral literally says like, "Well, that was dumb. Why'd you do that? Why'd you allow him to do that, Saru?"
Yeah, kind of getting owned here.
Yeah.
So then the nebula or whatever is like some kind of crazy place, and Discovery can't fly in there.
Yeah, it's too much radiation shear or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. So they have Book's ship go ? Because it can morph. This Book ship is hella dumb looking, man. I just like, man.
I don't understand why it had to become this thing that it wasn't initially. Yeah. I guess they got more SFX budget again.
I was just gonna say they waste SFX budget having it like split apart and be a deck of cards that shuffles itself around and stuff. It's dumb. Let's let it be a little ship that flies around and does stuff. It was cool.
Doesn't make any sense because what happens inside the ship when that happens? Do people get shorn in half? I
don't know, bro. They don't ever explain or show because it's the future and they don't have to.
It's so dumb.
It's dumb. Extremely dumb.
This is why I wanted to just talk about the first two the whole time.
So, but I think we should talk about, like, we can ignore kind of the outside stuff. And they eventually decide to make an away team of Hugh to treat whatever the injuries this life sign person has.
Sure.
Michael and Saru.
Yeah. And they're going to go down to you got to say what it is, man, what the planet's made out of.
Oh, yeah, sure. The planet is made out of dilithium. That's what we learn.
Yes, the whole planet is made from dilithium.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool and crazy.
It is crazy. And it is cool. So we get there and they teleport down, right? And all of a sudden
we find out that Osira is attacking Kaminar before that, which is where the Kelpians are from, because she's trying to lure Discovery out.
Right.
So let's remember this for later. She's trying to lure Discovery to Kaminar. All right.
Yeah, we're remembering it. Don't worry.
Remember it for later.
And so
Burnham has a funny line about why she has to go. She tells Book that Saru doesn't have the ability to be objective. Let me talk about Burnham the last 3 seasons.
I know, right? Is this the pot and the kettle here?
The pot and the kettle, everything. Yeah.
Everyone just calling each other what they themselves are.
Yeah. They leave Tilly in charge before they go away, by the way. And I wrote here in my notes, it's a very nice speech, Burnham. Thanks for telling her about the burr, but she's going to be a terrible captain.
Yep. I was like, oh, we're putting Tilly in charge. This is a bad idea.
All right. So they go down.
And all of a sudden they are like remade in some kind of weird sense. Hugh becomes a Bajoran. Burnham becomes a Trill, and Doug Jones now becomes Doug Jones.
I literally wrote Doug Jones in my notes too. I wrote down Little Red Riding Hood and Doug Jones walking through the forest.
Yeah, it's
I've met Doug Jones. He's a very good guy, by the way. He's very nice. So it's nice.
I have never met him, but I know he's been in like a billion things, and he's just like a great, well-known actor guy.
Yeah, it's nice for people to be able to see what he looks like once on this show.
I was just gonna say he plays Saru, and so you never actually see Doug Jones's face.
Did you notice how differently he speaks without the prosthetics on his face?
Yeah, right. Like he has to like accentuate the way he talks.
Yeah,
so that he sounds more like Saru.
Yeah,
which I thought was funny.
Yeah,
you could see him, and then also like he's trying to stand awkwardly like he does as Saru.
Yeah,
so that he, you still think he's It's the same guy. Anyway,
I like that
he
he's
didn't
like, my
really like.
heels are touching the ground, because I just finally noticed in season 3 that he's wearing those weird shoes.
Oh, I noticed, but then I was like, oh well, he's a human now, so of course his feet. And then he like
Yeah,
mentions it.
but he says it outright. So when I saw this, I thought immediately something bad's going to happen to Kaminar, and this is their send off for Saru. They're letting Doug Jones out so that you can see him before he leaves the show.
Still could happen, I suppose.
It's just a prediction that I wrote down that I thought I'd mention, because I wrote 4 exclamation points after Doug Jones.
I don't want to spend a ton of time on this episode because I didn't like it too much.
I don't either, but we need to talk about how it's a hollow environment.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so like, let's just breeze through the plot here, like super quick, right?
Okay.
Tilly is left in command. They go down, and all of a sudden, Osiris shows up because, of course, and the hollow environment they're in turns out the life sign was a kid.
Yeah,
since they've been trapped there for a super long time.
125 years, this kid has been trapped here somehow.
No one explains how long
Kelpians live,
which I
that
have a giant question mark about. So great.
But they've created a hollow environment to basically raise the kid when everyone had died, so that the rescuers could come get him and he wouldn't know the difference. But it obviously went on too long. The holographic environment is falling apart, and we get some cool squid monsters and MC Escher stairs.
Yes. You get you eventually learn the whole point of the program is the kid has to face his scary monster from his childhood, and when he faces his fears, the program is going to allow him then to live in the real world or whatever.
The monster looks very much like a Kelpian, and what's the other monster? What's the other race from their planet?
Oh, I was about to say the Goa'uld, but that's wrong.
That's true though.
It is. I forget. You're right though. It does. I totally don't remember. But
the other race on
like,
the Kelpian planet is the Ba'ul, not the Goa'uld. The Ba'ul.
It's close enough.
But it looks like if you had a Ba'ul and a Kelpian like that could shapeshift, then you would get what this thing is.
Yeah,
which is crazy and weird, and a good use of special effects money. Thank you very much.
Yes, I thought it was a cool monster. I thought it was a cool look for the monster. Yeah. None of the use of special effects in this episode was bad, right?
No.
All the like, great. Oh, these hollows are all bad and they're glitchy and flickering and like inserting their voices all weird and modulating and like falling apart or whatever. Good. Yay. Yeah. Use the special effects on this, not on the stupid little robots and not on the stupid space battle they have between Tilly and the Emerald Chain people.
It was a stupid space battle.
They immediately show up and Tilly's like, okay, we can cloak, right? Let's cloak. And then everyone
hold on. I have a question. Osira is attacking Kaminar to lure out Discovery. But then takes a transwarp tunnel straight to Discovery.
So
someone says, well, they can just track our spore drive.
Oh, I didn't hear that part.
Yeah. That happens as someone says, how did they find us? Maybe they're tracking the spore drive. Okay. Because I literally wrote down how could they possibly know where they are?
Well, that was going to be my question, right? I just assumed that it was going to come out that like, Book's little thing betrayed them.
It has to be that, because it doesn't make any sense if it's that they can track the spore drive, because then they would have just destroyed Federation headquarters before now. Look, they keep jumping to this one spot. That must be where Federation headquarters is. I just don't.
Why did they not just go there? And because that's what their goal was anyway, right?
Isn't transwarp what the Borg use?
Yes.
Okay. Wouldn't a Starfleet ship in the future be able to be like, oh, there's something coming in transwarp? Because by the time TNG and Voyager and all that happens, there's a different signal for ships that are in transwarp.
Yes, it's different because transwarp is the thing that's like beyond warp 10. That's the idea.
It's the under the fabric of the universe warp where you have to go in conduits.
Yeah. It's almost like it's almost like wormholes between places, right?
Basically,
fast like wormholes are.
Yeah, transwarp tunnels.
Yeah.
So Osira knows how to
Anyway,
use them. We
so
somehow
book very
my God, there's so
briefly
much
mentioned,
wrong with
oh,
this
they're so
ship.
dangerous. Well, this is why I wanted to breeze past all this, man.
I
You're
know, but
making me
some of it is
because
just
it
so.
sucks.
Some of it sucks so bad that you're just like, what happened here? It's like they took a TOS episode in the last two episodes and treated it with such love and care, and in this one they were just like, transwarp.
I mean, I don't even care about how, like, you could even, if you just want to, like, hand wave away all of this, you could just say, she attacked Kaminar, but she herself wasn't there ever and was always going to be showing up here. Who cares?
Well,
Like,
why bother with the Kaminar stuff?
because it's a feint, man. She wanted to attack Kaminar anyway. Who knows?
Okay,
Who
so
cares?
what if Discovery had gone to Kaminar and she was already? It just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. It just gets worse after this.
Andrew? You're thinking about it, and they don't want you to think about it.
Oh my God! And it just gets worse as she and Tilly are talking to each other.
Yeah, I really didn't appreciate any of the time that Tilly was in the captain's chair talking with Osira. It was just like, this is dumb.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, they're here. They're not a Federation ship. They'll be here in 2 minutes. They're here now. Let's cloak once they're here.
Yep. And then, despite all of this,
And the Osiris ship cloaks too?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Ugh.
They were able to retrofit cloaking onto Discovery by like blinking at it and like throwing some magic dust on it. So I'm sure her ship can cloak
Okay,
too.
so this is the other question I have from earlier. They retrofitted Discovery with all this crazy stuff. No holosuite that we've seen so far, but everyone on the surface of the planet knows exactly how holosuites works.
You mean the one person that's down there? There's only one person.
No. Saru and Hugh and Burnham are down on the planet. Burnham, you could understanding what a holosuite is. She was in this universe for a year. But the other two, who also know how holograms work and have never seen a hologram before.
That's not true, right? Saru talks to the Admiral as a hologram all the time.
Okay, but they don't have like holodecks and stuff like that in the future, or in the timeline that these guys are from.
Okay, but like, you know,
so how would he know how a holodeck works?
One assumes that they got the crash course of here's what a holodeck is when they showed up, right?
Okay,
at Starfleet.
I can hand wave that one, but still.
I mean, I agree that it's something that Saru and Hugh should not like have direct experience with, since they would not have had time to figure it out, probably. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It doesn't make it better. Burnham gets to impersonate a program and try to help the kid and learn out the Kelpian child here, who is not a child at all anymore. Try to help him, and in the process of this, the kid gets scared by the monster, and the dumbest thing in the episode happens is that this kid screams or something, and then they say, I don't know how does Saru figure this out?
Saru didn't figure it out.
Who does figure it out? Hugh?
Adira and Burnham?
Okay, so this is after Burnham leaves, then?
After Burnham leaves. So Book leaves before the fight. Right?
Book leaves to go try and get them back.
Book goes to try and get them because Discovery can't jump back in to get them.
Right, yes.
They don't have enough shields.
Yeah.
So then Adira sneaks onto Book's ship.
Yes.
Somehow, without any communication at all, knows that if she takes the meds down in her hand, they'll disappear. So she sticks them in her mouth.
Yeah, not explained. Yeah,
not explained how she knew that maybe the communications were working, but it seemed like they implied the communications were not working. Book then tells them over the radio, whatever happened down there, you need to make sure it doesn't happen again because it was almost another burn.
I see. Okay, that's the line then.
Yeah, and they say that over the radio, so everybody hears it. And
Got
then
it.
the characters have the same reaction I did. How is that even possible? What are we talking about here?
Yeah, what the fuck?
Yeah, I don't.
Um,
I don't know what it to even say to a
it's
Kelpian screaming in a holodeck program is going to cause the burn.
um, well, we don't get to find out because the episode ends. So we'll
Yeah.
have to find out
Uh,
next time. Maybe the payoff will be good. I am doubtful.
yeah. So hold on. We also got to ask. I got to ask another question because I don't remember.
Okay.
After Tilly and Osira just spend the whole time quipping and antagonizing each other, which just doesn't make any sense because you're spending that time not being a captain and figuring out the plan.
Yep.
It's like they watched Kirk on a bridge one time and they're like, well, obviously every captain has to just be full of one-liners. It's like Kirk would say a one-liner, cut the feed, and then figure out a plan.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, he antagonized Khan. He antagonized Khan to try and get Khan to make mistakes, and then while Khan was making mistakes,
and to keep him occupied,
yes,
it's literally Odira is doing the thing that Kirk did to Tilly.
Yes, Osira does the stuff that Kirk does, but
She
does it to Tilly instead, and somehow they transport past the shields. Also unexplained.
And the shields are bad. I don't know. I don't have a good answer.
Completely unexplained how they can just transport past the shields.
I am going to hope that it is explained next episode in haha, that piece of technology book plugged in gave me access to all your systems so I could do
it. Had better be
bypass all your stuff.
It had better be that. Otherwise, it makes half of this makes no sense.
I just wrote a big LOL, they just teleport in. If they could have done that, why didn't they do this so much?
Why didn't you do it at the very freaking beginning?
Yeah.
I guess because the ships were cloaked, but why didn't they do that the last time they were fighting when the ships were not cloaked, even though they were retrofitted with cloak?
Why didn't they just stay cloaked?
Am I wrong that Discovery was retrofitted before the first fight?
No, right? It was after.
No, it was before. It was before they were like, oh, we can't engage. It was like, why didn't you cloak then if you had cloak this whole time?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because it definitely had those weird nacelles that are detached for no reason in that scene before when Osira's ship was fought by Book's ship.
I don't know, whatever.
This was okay. The more we talk about it,
that's why I wanted to gloss over it.
The scenes on the planet were good. The scenes in the ship were good, and so I thought the episode was better than I thought it was.
I liked the entire story about the kid in the holodeck and growing up and having to protect him. All that stuff. Really good.
Really good.
Everything else was bad.
Yeah, yeah. So not as bad as some of the worst, but pretty unexplainable off the top.
Yep.
Yeah, you're right to try and skip through as much of it as possible because without the answers to all this stuff, we've been pretty good, man. We've been really good about getting the two-parters into the same thing because this type of stuff happens where they gloss over so much in the first one and then everything is explained in the second one.
Yep. And I think that is half of our frustration here because I'm sure we'll watch the second one. 80% of our questions will be explained. Whether we like the explanation or not, different question, but at least they will explain it, right? And then we'll be like, okay, we're moving on to whatever the next thing is. And then we won't have this feeling that we have here where I hated large parts of this episode, not just because they weren't resolved, but because they're full of plot holes and probably a thing that is explained in the next episode, right?
It has to be. And
then other stuff is just I don't like the stuff that they did here. So,
but even if they explain it the thing was how we got access to your ship, it's well, Book said that it's been plugged into his ship this whole time. So what?
Maybe they're setting this up as Book betraying him. I'd be, okay, that would be something.
Yeah, that would be something.
I don't know. I don't know what happens. I'm completely off on a limb here, so
yeah,
who knows?
Book would have to be betraying them, right?
We don't know. Right?
We don't know, but it's the only way that it could all round out to having made sense. If the thing he plugged into the ship worked like it worked and it gave them access to the thing, but he knew the whole time that
it was a tracking device,
so they could track
the floor drive, right?
Yeah, yeah. And that he needed to plug it into their ship so that it could overrun their systems and they could jump past the shields and all that sort of stuff. Then we have to assume the only way to write that well is that Book betrayed them. And I like Book a lot. And if he did, then, you know, I'm sure it'll be well acted.
Who knows? Maybe we'll find out that he had a reason and she was after his family like the other guy. Who knows?
Or something, yeah.
Anyway, I think that's the end of this. We don't really have a lot else to say about this episode. Perhaps on the next Subspace transmission, we will wrap up season 3.
We will.
There are only 2 more episodes.
There's only 2 more. We will, in fact, always be wrapping that up next episode, which is actually our 30th episode of Subspace Transmissions.
That's a good
30th episode to end season 3. It's all rounding out.
Patting ourselves on the back here virtually. Good job, us.
Pretty good.
Definitely planned.
Sorry, I can't help but laugh at that one.
We were always going to get here, Andrew. Don't
let people in.
Don't ruin this for me. So what do we say about these? Like, those Terra Firma episodes were great.
Those Terra Firma episodes might be some of the best Star Trek I've seen in a while.
Really, really good. And this one, less.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where we're at. I don't know what's coming after that episode because we probably have a little bit of a break before they're ready with new Star Trek. Although Paramount Plus is weird, dude.
I haven't used it yet. I watched all these episodes before Paramount Plus launched.
So I watched them all in the CBS app, which is still on my phone. But when I stream it to my TV, it shows the Paramount Plus logo on the TV. And everything on Paramount Plus... Oh, there we go. I'm trying to open... You can hear... I was watching The City from Edge of Tomorrow last night. It's still open. If I just search like anything on Nickelodeon, like SpongeBob, in the CBS app, it's here.
Mm-hmm.
It's CBS. So like they just turned the CBS app into the Paramount app, I guess.
Yeah. That was always what it was. But they took CBS All Access and renamed it to Paramount Plus.
But I don't have a new Paramount Plus app. It's just like everything is now in all the apps. So if you have like the Nickelodeon app, it's all in there too.
Because there's only one app. That's the whole point. It was unifying all their brands.
No, but right? I don't have a new app. The Paramount app does not exist on my phone.
You're not even listening to me. I'm saying all the apps are all the apps because on the back end, they just connected everything.
I see.
Instead of making you have a Nickelodeon one and a CBS one and a whatever one, now it's just Paramount and it's everything. I'm sure eventually they're going to replace all your Nickelodeons and your CBSs and whatever, those apps, with one Paramount app. But they already have the Nickelodeon one. Why not just let it keep working?
I mean, They definitely have a Paramount app. So I wonder if that will just replace all the apps in the phones somehow. Like your Nickelodeon app will just be updated to the Paramount app somehow. I don't know.
I don't know. I'm not in charge of their thing. But I can tell you, like, it was always meant that the subscription would just carry over and just be the same thing. So it makes perfect sense that your thing that was there for logging into CBS All Access just logs you into Paramount Plus, because that's what happens on the website and everywhere else too.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's just the thing. And you now are connected to
It's strange. It's more efficient for sure. It just is not the way that other companies have handled stuff like this.
It's not like this is being handled weird and was a weird thing to start with and is not all the way thought out and not handled the same way that it's done by other ones. Yeah. You're right.
Anyway, Paramount Plus is out, so all Star Trek and everything else is all in one app now. So maybe we can find something in there after. We'll see.
Yeah, who knows? And I'm not sure when the next Star Trek thing is intended to come out.
Yeah.
I think it's probably not going to be a Lower Decks this year, I'm guessing. I feel like it's been not long enough, but maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think they have a date for Lower Decks season 2 because how do you? It's really
Well, the pandemic, I'm sure.
it's really hard to animate on home computers when you can't move stuff on fiber networks
Right. So
between people to do their jobs.
I imagine that's been a bit of a problem for that show. I imagine there was at least some amount of pause in filming for all the other main shows, if they were filming already or if they were trying to start or whatever.
Yeah, I don't think they've even started Picard filming.
No, no. If they had, I hadn't heard that they had started filming it. So I think the stuff that had been started filming was Strange New Worlds, but I don't know that they said they finished it. And I know they said that there's going to be a season 4 of Discovery, but I don't know that they started filming that either.
Okay, Picard began filming in February, so that won't be out for months.
That maybe that's an end of the year thing, or more likely early next year.
I have a feeling most of the stuff is going to get delayed to on top of each other. So we might get Lower Decks in like the late fall, and then Picard at the end of the year, and Discovery next year sometime. Strange New Worlds will probably be next year at this point sometime. Although they were hiring for filming, so they might also overlap in that fall winter.
Or more likely, right? They don't bundle everything on top of each other. They just
one would hope they don't, right? That's the point of their service, is they want you to watch every single week, and they got to spread out the Star Trek.
Yeah, I imagine they're going to take it and just be like, okay, whichever one is finished first or was intended to go first or whatever.
It's just going to be
that one, and then they wait 2 weeks after the last episode of that one, and then it's the next one.
It's going to be strange for us. We've always had something to catch up on, so we could
I know, for the first time, this podcast is current. Yeah, number 1. We finally caught up to present day, not 2 or 3 years behind we started.
Yeah. It's been a wild ride, but we'll find out what happens at the end here, and see if any of it makes any sense. We got 2 more episodes.
Yep.
And if before then you want to send non-spoiler information of stuff we missed, if you have a TNG episode from the Mirror Universe, where?
You could send that to podcast@wewergamers.com. We're also at wewergamers on almost all social media. We are facebook.com/wewergamers. Check us out there. Search for We Were Gamers on YouTube and subscribe to us. Hit that little notification button. You'll see when the episodes go up. It's really easy on YouTube because you could just click a playlist that has all the Subspace transmissions. That's really nice. Yeah. Well, of course, subscribe to the pod and you get this one in with all the other ones as well, which is also good.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Have a nice. I don't know when this is coming out, but have a nice day whenever it came out.
Yeah. Yeah, like Osiris says, what is it that you people say when you do the thing? It's
my God. I hate her so much. Their characters snarking on each other was the most painful experience of that 3 hours. And snarking on the bridge about a fourth wall joke.
I know.
Is just even worse.
She's an effective villain in that I hope she gets killed.
Oh, very much so. Yeah. But she seems to have brought out the worst in our other ostensible captain here.
Yeah. Ugh.
Not great. We'll see, but I'm not happy about it.
All right. Till next time.